认为两岸迟早会实现统一。首届中国中亚峰会召开前夕，哈萨克斯坦总统托卡耶夫接受高端访谈独家专访，敬请收看。
关注国际焦点，洞察世界风云。大家好，欢迎收看本期高端访谈，我是王冠。我们的摄制组来到了阿斯塔纳，在这里我们要对话今天的嘉宾哈萨克斯坦总统托卡耶夫。中国和哈萨克斯坦是永久全面战略伙伴关系，这一独特的称谓背后是两国关系怎样的发展和演进？曾经长期在中国学习和工作的托卡耶夫对中国有着怎样特殊的感情？他又如何看待当下的国际格局和地缘纷争？带着这些问题，让我们一起走进今天的嘉宾哈萨克斯坦总统托卡耶夫。President Tokayev, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's an honor to have you on Leaders Talk on China Media Group.
It's my pleasure.
President Tokayev, you are president of this country. You're also author of 10 books on international relations. You repeatedly said that you wanted to build a new Kazakhstan with fairness at the center of it all. How would you summarize your philosophies of governance? Where do you want to take Kazakhstan?
I want to put my country just in the center of the Eurasian continent. Kazakhstan plays a very important role in bridging up trade routes, international relations on this part of the world. So Kazakhstan is a very important country. I believe that Kazakhstan's future must be bright. That's why I put my all efforts in order to promote further development of Kazakhstan as an advanced country with a very developed economy.
President Tokayev, Kazakhstan has a very, very unique location. Has been called many different things over the years. Some scholars say Kazakhstan, quote unquote, holds the key to a new geopolitical balance in Eurasia. Others call it a diplomatic bridge between the East and the West. How would you describe the role of Kazakhstan in today's geopolitical realities?
Kazakhstan is a territory of peace and friendship. Diplomatically, it means that we want to host international forums, conferences, to bring all the peoples who strongly believe in constructing peaceful bridges between so many conflicting nations together. That's why Kazakhstan's future in the contemporary world is becoming increasingly important.
On many occasions, Mr. President, you talk about the fact that you wanted to build this balanced, multi-directional foreign policy. First of all, how would you define this balanced multi-vectorism or multi-directionism?
It means that we want as many friends around the world as it's possible. And on the international arena, we are highly responsible as far as safety, security are concerned. So I believe that Kazakhstan will be successful in pursuing this kind of foreign policy. It is our historic destiny to be peaceful, to benefit from a friendly relationship with all countries. First of all, with our immediate neighbors, where China plays an extremely important role.
But the reality is, Mr. President, Kazakhstan is the world's largest landlocked country that borders great powers. And also, if you think about the fact that Kazakhstan has complex relations with many countries who are currently involved in geopolitical tensions, does that make Kazakhstan's pursuit of balanced, multi-directional foreign policy more difficult?
Yes, from time to time, it becomes increasingly difficult. But at the same time, we strongly believe and we are committed to pursuing this balanced, multi-directional foreign policy. You are right, Kazakhstan is a huge country in terms of its territory. But at the same time, of course, it's important to ensure our environment, political environment, to be very friendly to our economy.
Let's talk about China. Kazakhstan relations. This relationship has been described by both sides as permanent, comprehensive, strategic partnership. This is very unique in China's foreign policy. Actually, I learned that you are personally invested in the coining of this term. Can you tell us the thinking behind it and how would you position China in Kazakhstan's current foreign policy?
China plays a very important role in our foreign policy. In September 2019, I went to China to pay a state visit. And we had excellent talks with Chairman Xi Jinping. And we agreed to pursue mutually beneficial policy of bringing our peoples together. It means that we should enjoy strategic partnership, eternal friendship between both countries. I think that it is very much in the interests, in the long-standing interests of the Kazakh people. And I'm very much committed to this kind of policy. And of course, we have no doubts about the importance of having strategic partnership with our immediate neighbor, China.
But if you think about the word eternal, some would say this is the tall order, given the geopolitical realities. Are you confident that this relationship can be eternal?
Yes, because as I have already said and mentioned, we are both immediate neighbors. So it's our historic destiny. And my task as president of this country to make sure that this friendship will obtain a solid basis and will be mutually beneficial politically and, of course, economically.
Let's talk about President Xi. You greeted the Chinese president. You met with him during his state visit last September. It was his first state visit since COVID. Looking from the pictures, it was a very cordial and warm relationship between you and him. You spoke Chinese with him. What do you think of him as a leader, and what do you think of his governance and policies?
I believe that Chairman Xi Jinping is a great leader of China, and he will be leading China for the bright future without any hesitations. I have a huge respect to him as president of China. We enjoy a trustful relationship, I may say so. And I believe that this kind of personal relationship between both of us will be continuously developing because it's in the interests of both countries. He's a very wise man, very polite, very cordial, as you said. So I think that we'll be enjoying this kind of mutual personal relationship in order to make sure that the overall cooperation between both Kazakhstan and China eventually will become more successful.
There have been a number of Chinese proposals over the years, including building a community of shared future, a global security initiative, global development initiative, and also global civilizations initiative. How do you look at those initiatives proposed by President Xi and by China?
I regard them very positively. I think that it's a real contribution to building a more predictable world in the future. And in general, of course, Kazakhstan supports the initiatives put forward by President Xi Jinping. I have no doubts about the positive impacts on developing the world, which must be free of discrimination, of sanctions, of pressure. So the world must be full of good spirit, friendship, and cooperation.
And President Xi said that China's development path, which has been recently summarized as the Chinese path to modernization, it demonstrated that modernization doesn't necessarily mean westernization. Looking at it as an international relations expert, as a diplomat, as a leader of a country, what do you make of it? What do you think of the Chinese path to modernization?
The point is that both Kazakhstan and China are being situated in Asia. So it's senseless to talk about the westernization because we have our own way of developing ourselves. But at the same time, of course, we need to use positive experience that does exist in so many countries, including the West. First of all, I mean technologies, education, and so on. So I think that we must enrich each other by taking good lessons. But at the same time, of course, there should be no interference in the domestic affairs of any countries from outside.
Last January, there was a video summit between China and Central Asian leaders. And then in February, you, along with 4 other Central Asian leaders, attended the opening of Beijing Winter Olympics. And then there will be this China-Central Asia summit in May. Is it your sense, too, that China and Central Asia are moving closer towards each other, not just economically,
but also strategically? And in particular, what are your expectations for this China Central Asia Summit, the first of its kind?
My expectations from the summit, which is going to take place in Xi'an, Central Asia and China are very high. China plays increasingly important role in our part of the world, in Central Asia, and it's quite natural. I think that all my colleagues in Central Asia would agree with me that we benefit from our relations with China, and we'll be doing our best in order to promote this kind of cooperation.
And then what would be your response to some commentaries that say that China and Central Asia are moving closer towards one another, and they're concerned about this growing closeness or intimacy in this geopolitical balance?
There should be no suspicions about that, because our intentions are quite open, sincere. The fact is that China, number 2 in terms of its economy in the world. China has become a juggernaut in terms of its economic development. So we should acknowledge the role of China, and we need to build very good relationship with your country.
Talking about the economy, China has been one of Kazakhstan's largest trading partners for many, many years. And you talk about the fact that you wanted to advance this economic partnership. Do you have any specific areas or sectors in mind?
I think that we enjoy a very close relationship in so many areas. The overall trade between both states reached $31 billion. In this context, of course, China has shown itself as a very reliable partner. We are ready to develop as many areas of mutual cooperation as it's possible in the future. We welcome investments from China. We welcome businessmen from China. And I think that we'll be hosting them very well here in Kazakhstan. I strongly believe, it's my personal belief as president of this country, that the Chinese investors are very good.
There is joint program on vocational training. That is China working with Kazakhstan to help produce more skilled workers for the Kazakh economy. It is actually called Luban Workshop. Cooperations such as this, how do you want to advance bilateral economic relations going forward?
We have excellent results as far as economic cooperation is concerned, but we need to go forward. That's why I'm hopeful about my future visit to Xi'an, which is a cradle of the Chinese civilization. And I believe that we need new agreements, new deals, because we shouldn't stay just on the ground and wait for some results to come. I think that we need to take efforts to push forward our economic ties in this complex world. And I would like to say that I'm very much committed to developing cooperation and friendly ties between the youth of both countries. The younger generation must know about each other quite well. That's why we should inspire them, encourage them to have more exchanges. And you just mentioned Luban.
He's a very well-respected craftsman.
Yes, I know quite a lot of stories about him. So, of course, here we'll be promoting the creation of Luban masterships.
And what do you think this spirit of Luban can help and inspire workers on both sides? How do you think this can actually help bilateral relations to advance?
It's one of the bridges that may play a stimulating role in promoting our bilateral cooperation. I just mentioned about the exchange of youth. I should mention the exchange of those people who represent the cultures of our two countries, sportsmen, and so on and so on.
Like ping pong or table tennis?
Yes, we welcome ping pong masters from China to come. About 3 or 4 years ago, there was a big tournament here on table tennis, and such famous and outstanding players like Ding Ling and others came here to show their art in table tennis, and we appreciate, of course.
今天我们来到了纳扎尔巴耶夫大学。2013年，正是在这里，中国国家主席习近平首次提出了共建丝绸之路经济带的倡议。从此，“一带一路”倡议应者云集， 由蓝图化为现实，成为重要的国际公共产品。在共建“一带一路”倡议提出10周年之际，请跟随我们的镜头一起，让我们重访“一带一路”首倡之地。这里是纳扎尔巴耶夫大学主会议厅。10年前，习近平主席正是在这个会场发表了题为“弘扬人民友谊，共创美好未来”的重要演讲。
千百年来，在这条古老的丝绸之路上，各国人民共同谱写千古传颂的友好篇章。2000多年的交往历史证明，只要坚持团结互信、平等互利、包容互鉴、合作共赢，不同种族、不同信仰、不同文化背景的国家完全可以共享和平，共同发展。这是古丝绸之路留给我们的宝贵启示。
在演讲中，习主席从1000年前古丝绸之路的光辉历史，谈到近年来中国与欧亚国家的友好合作，展望未来，如何让横贯东西、连接欧亚的丝绸之路焕发出新的生机活力？如何面对世界深度变化带来的挑战与机遇？习主席在这场演讲中给出了思考。
为了使欧亚各国经济联系更加紧密，相互合作更加深入，发展空间更加广阔，我们可以用创新的方式，共同建设丝绸之路经济带。这是一项造福沿途各国人民的大事业。
Mr. President, we're marking the 10th anniversary of the BRI. Kazakhstan is very much a key part of it, both symbolically and substantively. If you think about the fact that the BRI was first conceived right here in Astana, right?
In 2013.
How do you look at the merits of the BRI and what do you think has brought to your country?
It's a very promising mega project, and Kazakhstan strongly supports the concept which has been elaborated here 10 years ago by President Xi Jinping. This project may bring a lot of benefits for so many countries. So Kazakhstan plays a crucial role in implementing this project.
It's a fact because 2 of the 6 main corridors went through Kazakhstan.
Yes, and it's very much good that both Kazakhstan and China share the same language as far as the implementation of this concept is concerned. It's one of the solid bases of our mutual cooperation and shared view on what is happening outside of both countries.
Yeah, if you think about the fact that China Railway Express, for example, that is going through Kazakhstan, played a crucially important role during COVID because it's one of the very, very few corridors that delivered life-saving medicines, masks, ventilators to those in need to save lives.
Yes, we have been very much close during the pandemic, and I appreciate the support which has been provided by China in this very difficult time. So we proved to be friends, real friends. But at the same time, of course, as soon as the pandemic is over, I am hopeful about the future trade between both countries. And I think that we have a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential to develop further our mutual trade.
And also another very important regional organization that is taking a global importance is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And this year, Kazakhstan will assume the chairmanship of SCO. How do you look at its role in the evolving geopolitical landscape? And what do you think a chairmanship from Kazakhstan can bring to this organization?
The Shanghai Organization for Cooperation has proven to be a very promising, a very influential organization. And it's about China, which has greatly supported the Shanghai Organization for Cooperation from the very beginning. This organization has started its activities in Shanghai in 1996. And as foreign minister of this country, I have been participating in the launching ceremony. So I'm proud to have been involved in the activities of the Shanghai Organization for Cooperation from the very beginning. And of course, Kazakhstan as a future chairman and host country of the summit of this organization will be doing its utmost in order to increase the potential of SCO. And I believe that this organization, as I have already said, became a very famous, a very influential one in the current world. From my personal point of view, and I have said it at the summit in Bishkek, the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation has become one of the most developed and successful organizations in the world.
You know, some Western friends ask me what SCO is all about. They're like, oh, is this a NATO of the East? How would you respond to their concerns and curiosity about the nature of this organization?
The uniqueness of the Shanghai Organization for Cooperation that we have a very much diversified agenda. We talk and take measures not only in the security area or in the military domain, but we take decisions with regard to our economic cooperation, investment cooperation, cultural ties, and so many. It's not exaggeration of the potential of this organization. It's the acknowledgement of the fact which does exist. And I think that a lot of opportunities still lie ahead of this organization, and it's about us, including Kazakhstan, to make better this organization, to benefit from its potential and to bring fortunes and benefits to our peoples.
Talking about international relations, Mr. President, in recent years, some countries framed China as a threat. There's both rhetoric and actual policies of antagonizing China, of attempting to decouple with China, and of containing China. How do you feel about that?
I feel sorry about that. I don't share this view, and we do not support this concept. Speaking about Kazakhstan, we strongly believe that China is a very good friend of my country. And looking back in the historic developments, China never made any damage to the Kazakh people. And of course, we keep it in our historic memory, and we very much appreciate it.
Talking about Taiwan, it is a hot button issue. Actually, you recently said that, actually said it on many occasions, that it is very important to uphold territorial integrity for all countries. Recently, you rejected calls for Taiwan independence. Can you elaborate?
We believe that it's a question which should be absolutely clear to everybody in the world. Taiwan is a part of China. So the principle of the territorial integrity of all states has been fixed in the Charter of the United Nations, which must be respected. And this principle also has been put in the declaration and in the Charter of the Shanghai Organization for Cooperation. So once again, for us, it's absolutely clear. Taiwan is a part of China, and we have no hesitations about that.
Would you support an eventual Chinese reunification?
Yes, of course. I think that eventual reunification will take place sooner or later. And there are Chinese who live in Taiwan. There are Chinese who live in China. So they must be together.
President Tokayev, let's talk about your personal relationship with China. You're one of the very, very few world leaders currently who speak fluent Mandarin Chinese. What kind of a unique lens does that give you to look at China? Because you also lived and studied in China for what, 8 years?
I studied in China from 83 to 84. I went through the training courses at the University of Culture and the Chinese language. So I really enjoyed this period of my life in China. I have got acquainted with your culture, with your language, and I really liked the Chinese people and its traditions. So it was one of the best times and periods of my life in China.
You would ride a bicycle along the hutongs?
Yes.
Visiting different places?
Absolutely. I did it. And I've been enjoying.
What was it like back then? if you compare that China versus
That
China today?
time, Beijing was a very fastly developing city. And there were reforms. So the whole China was developing quite quickly and successfully. And we have been witnessing the growth of China, the progress of China. We lived in 五道口、四道口。
托卡耶夫青年时期近8年的时间在中国度过，在北京语言大学进修后，他留在了苏联驻华使馆工作，成为地道的中国通。2019年3月，托卡耶夫宣誓就任哈萨克斯坦总统。同年9月，托卡耶夫访华时表示，与中国相关的许多最快乐和有趣的回忆保存在我的记忆中。本次专访前，高端访谈栏目特意采访了托卡耶夫当年的任课教师刘世勤。刘老师表示，欢迎托卡耶夫总统有机会回母校与师生们叙旧。
What do you want to say to Mr. Liu Shiqin?
I would like to tell him that I'm very much grateful. He's a very good teacher. I remember him very well. And I believe that one day I will be able to go to China once again to meet him. Really, he was a very good teacher.
Strict?
Strict, but very much friendly. And he liked us.
So, Mr. President, speaking from personal experience, how do you look at the importance of people-to-people engagement between Chinese and Kazakhs, visiting each other's countries, knowing the other's languages, and living the life of China and Kazakhstan have to offer to each other?
I've already said about this. I strongly believe that people-to-people exchanges and ties are extremely important. And we, being the heads of our states, must do everything in order to promote these kind of exchanges, to bring our peoples together, and because we share the common destiny, historic destiny.
托卡耶夫总统，我能用中文问您一个问题吗？能不能用中文跟我们的中国电视观众说几句？您对中国和哈萨克斯坦未来双边关系的期待是什么？
今天哈萨克斯坦和中国是友好邻邦，有1700多公里的睦邻友好的共同边界线。这些年来，我们两国不仅成为好邻居，而且成为互相支持发展的可靠友好伙伴。正如我已经指出的那样，中国是我们的全天候的朋友。我期待未来我们两国之间的合作一定受到发展巩固。
您最想念中国的什么？
我在中国待了差不多8年，所以想念好多东西，想念中国菜，想念中国的文化，想念中国的人民。
您刚才说到了中餐啊，您最喜欢的、最想吃、最怀念的一道中餐是什么？
回锅肉、北京烤烤鸭、担担面。
担担面。
你知道吗？担担面。
担担面我知道，有点辣，是不是？
辣的。
能吃辣？
我喜欢吃辣的。
哦。您最喜欢的中国诗歌或者是文学作品是什么？
在中国的进修的时候，我们看了鲁迅的作品。鲁迅的作品，我相信是符合全世界读书人的兴趣。
President Tokayev, thank you so much for this opportunity.
It was my great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a little gift for you. This is from China Media Group, and it's a porcelain from the year of the rabbit this year. The rabbit means agility, upwardness, and upbeat spirit.
Thank you. I appreciate, and I will put it on my display in my office, personal office. Okay.
And also, we have another gift. I know that you're a big table tennis fan. This is a pad signed by a Chinese ping pong tennis world champion.
Oh, who is she?
Ma Lin.
Ma Lin.
Ma Lin, you know him?
Yes, of course I know.
Like this.
Ma Lin.
How do you hold it?
He plays very well.
You hold it like this? Yeah, he plays like that.
Plays like this.
And we wait for you in China.
Yes, see you in China.
整个专访过程当中，托卡耶夫总统的严谨和真诚给我留下了很深的印象。当他回忆起当年在中国学习和工作的往事的时候，他脸上露出了笑容。他多次用“永恒”一词来形容中哈关系。他说，两国战略和经贸领域的合作不断走深走实，而在未来，他期待有更多的民间和人文交流，让双方的民众去感受对方的文化和社会。好，感谢您收看本期高端访谈。